if you were never meant to walk this spiritual path alone? In today's episode, we're joined by internationally renowned spiritual teacher and angel expert Kyle Gray for a powerful conversation about intuition, divine guidance, and learning to trust the subtle nudges that shape our lives. Kyle shares how anyone, yes, even the skeptics, can begin to recognize spiritual guidance, strengthen their intuitive gifts, and release fear-based beliefs that block connection. We explore what angels actually are, how they communicate, and why intuition isn't reserved for the spiritually gifted, but is a birthright we've simply forgotten how to use. If you're craving clarity, reassurance, or a deeper connection to the divine that feels grounded and real, this episode is for you. And with that, let's dive in.
Before we really kick in with some exciting, fun questions, Kyle, I have to tell you personally, I know I shared with you over Instagram just
About your boy.
Yes. And I'm
Oh.
going to get emotional. And I swear, you guys have been crying like every single podcast. I don't know what's going on with me right now, but you just had such a meaningful imprint on my heart, my spiritual journey. And it was what I drew from when my son was diagnosed. And
Well, I'm grateful I could do that for
gosh,
you. Be there with you.
And it's surreal to be talking to you, because if you knew how much you were a part of my daily journey and conversations with Rachel, and I just saw Kyle Gray post this and I just read this, and you are just a constant part of our lives even before we started Spirit Outspoken. So we are so excited to bring you to our audience, because we've even done episodes about you. Like, I don't even know if you know that.
No,
We've done,
stop it.
Swear.
Yeah.
Stop it.
The first deck I ever bought was your Kyle Gray angel deck.
Yeah.
And I was like,
That's
what
so
is this?
good.
This is so fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I still do it.
Somewhere.
I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Look
just
at
did
her.
it last night with my girls again. They love it
Oh,
too.
you did?
So I have,
Yeah.
the kids are hooked now too. We all love
Thank
it.
you so much.
Yes.
No, it's amazing.
Thank you.
It's
Your
amazing.
work is beautiful. So
Thank
can
you.
we start with just maybe you sharing a little bit about your spiritual journey? We know it, of course, and we know it started at a very young age, but just
Right.
a little bit about your upbringing, how you became aware of your connection to angels and what that path was like.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the west coast of Scotland, where I am now, and yeah, I was born into a pretty like Protestant household, and kind of spirituality's always kind of been a part of my life. But the way my spirituality went was kind of a little bit more left field. But my journey really started when I was really young. I was around 3.5 years old. I had a really bad flu, and then one morning I woke up and I just couldn't walk. My parents were trying to get me to stand up and I just couldn't walk. And it turned out, after being rushed to hospital, they found out after a few weeks that I had this thing called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a virus that attacks the nervous system and causes paralysis, usually waist down. And it was during that time of being paralyzed that I developed a kind of heightened sense of, or just heightened senses. So like if people were cooking food, I could like smell what exactly it was, or if they're having conversations in a whispering tone, I could really tune in and listen to it and hear it.
Wild.
My mom called
Crazy.
me vacuum ears growing up because I just like sucked everything in.
She probably hated it. She couldn't get away with having,
she really
girlfriend
did.
chitter chatter. And
Right. Or like when your parents are like falling out with each other, like, and so I could hear it all.
Whispering at the dinner table.
And then it was around that time that my grandmother moved in with us because her health was plummeting. She had cancer, a lymphoma, and her health deteriorated, but my health naturally improved. And then it was around that time that my grandmother was moved from our house into hospital, and a neighbor called Margaret would look after me. And one night she put me to bed and she like tucked me all in, and then I woke up through the night, and and my light had been turned off, and then I saw my nana, my grandmother, and she was sitting at the bottom of my bed. And I remember just like thinking, oh, she's came home, like she's back. And she just like tickled my back and made me feel so loved. And then when I got up and the next morning, I was looking for my nana all over the house. And my mom was like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm looking for Nana. She came home last night. And then later that day, I was told that my nana went to heaven, which was what my parents told me. So that was like the kind of initial experience of seeing something beyond, life. And it kind of instilled this question in me because, going to Sunday school, you learn that when you go to heaven, you don't see your loved ones until you return there. So I had this big
Right.
question of what happens to us when we die. And it's been with me then, all the way up through my life. And I've kind of been trying to refine it over the years of what happens to the soul. But without question, I felt that she was with me in some way, and my senses just got worse and worse, or better and better, however you want to say it. As I grew up, I would just, walk into people's houses and I would start petting a dog and talking to the dog, but no one else could see it because it had already died. And there was just
Whoa.
all these like really bizarre encounters. Um, and so my parents were clearly like unsure what was going on. And I had these migraine headaches that lasted like for 11 years eventually. And I just had these headaches, had all this like nerve damage because of the paralysis. And they kind of thought that this was causing some sort of like neuro issue where I was like imagining things or people. So the doctors suggested that I stop taking like additives and like colorants and food and, all the fun stuff. So my parents took me off that and dairy and all the things, and I got even more psychic. So they like
Oh,
put
wow.
me back on it.
You're like, here, have a donut.
Shut this guy up.
So this is like new for them. It didn't run in your family, so to speak.
Well, there was like it turns out I learned this later on, but it turns out that my mum's mum was like would read people, and
Okay.
and then my grandmother had hosted seances in her house. So there was like this thing, but it wasn't like we're psychics or we're
Yeah. Right.
mediums. And it was all a bit more cloak and dagger because, as you know, like you grew up in a kind of like my grandparents were very conservative, so everything was all like under the radar. But there was something there.
For sure.
Yeah.
And were they freaked out by this at all, your parents? Like, how did they respond initially?
Well, I think the truth is my parents were going through their divorce, that it was kind of sidetracked. And when they kind of like separated, it was kind of, like like ignored essentially. But it wasn't until I got into my teenage years that things started to kind of like add up for me. I thought I was just imaginative and a dreamer. But it turns out that some of these things I was seeing in earlier years were actually quite accurate and spooky and unexplained. But what this one thing happened that my mum knew something was there. We grew up in this street where everyone was friends with their neighbors, and it was amazing. And our next door neighbor were hosting like a famous medium who was coming to do readings for people. And my mum was a mobile hairdresser at the time, and she was doing a perm. And she said that she got a call on, remember those giant like Motorola phones that you had
Yes.
with the flip?
Yes.
She said she got a call on it, and they're like, by the way, do you know kids say do this for a phone now rather than that? I find that so bizarre.
They do? Because of the cell phone. There's no.
They do that.
I'll call you.
So I just did it.
Instead
I
of
went,
this.
call.
You look at you're so hip.
I'm so hip.
so
I'm nearly
cool.
14. I'm doing this. So anyway, so
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that
they're
either.
like, the psychics arrived at the house and she asked for you by name. You're supposed to be the last reading, but she's refusing to do any readings for anyone until you get here. So my mum supposedly left a perm in someone's hair and ran to the house. And the
Stop.
woman was like, are you Diane? Like by first name. She went, yes. And she said, And then she said, I've got a man called Huey Woods here. So Hugh Woods, and he wants to speak to you. And my mum resuscitated a man in the street called Hugh Woods when she was a little girl.
Shut up.
Right? So then she's like, he wants to thank you for saving his life. You allowed him to go on and live another so many years. And he wanted to come through and personally thank you. And then she went, who's Agnes? And that was my grandmother's name. She went, and then she voice channeled her and started saying my mum's name in my grandmother's voice. I know.
No, I didn't
And
even
then,
know that was possible.
right. Yeah, it's definitely possible. But then she then went, where's my blue-eyed boy? And then, and she started channeling. And then she said, and then the woman came round and said, your son saw your mother after she died. And then the light bulb went off. And she made a prediction. She said, by the time your son is 17 years old, he will be recognized in a national newspaper for doing the same thing or similar to what I do today. And she got it dead on. The Daily Mail named me the youngest medium in the UK when I was 17 years old.
Isn't
So
that
spooky.
incredible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the way that, I mean, you, and I know you were really close to your mom, and I'm
Yeah,
sorry
very. Yeah, thank
for
you.
her passing. But that must have been a really big part of your development and getting you to where you needed to be, was having your mom believe and see in your gifts.
Right. Because she was
Mhm.
so skeptical. She wasn't really into like psychics or people who tell fortunes or anything like that. She was like the spare person to make the 6 people up, you know? And then she ended up getting the most accurate reading. But that medium was so specific. She even said to a woman at that house, tell your husband not to get in the red Volvo, and he was killed by one. It was unbelievable. She was like one of those, you know, like
Wow.
really spooky people.
Whoa.
Like,
That's nuts.
I know, like unbelievable. So the stories of this woman growing up were incredible. She's passed away now, but yeah.
That's unreal.
So yeah,
So-
that was the seeds that were planted. So by the time I get to my teenage years, I was in Sunday school, like very involved in church, all that stuff, and I get interested in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And my church leader, who was my cousin, said to me, "You have to decide between God or Buffy."
What?
Seriously.
I chose Buffy.
Yeah. There you go.
And then it eventually like went down the line of like reading into energy healing and stuff. And then eventually I landed on angels. And that's when something like lit up inside of me. The idea that everyone had a guardian angel, that everyone could communicate with this being, that it was sent by God as a force of love to protect you. And that if you opened yourself up to them, that you could feel them. And I was like, yeah. And as soon as I started, you know, opening up, I started to feel a sense of warmth, and it actually healed my relationship with the divine. I had to like leave it, you know, to
Mhm.
come back from a different angle, one that was love-based, not fear-based, you know. It was a big part of why I wanted to come on your podcast.
Yeah. I was
Oh.
going to say that's what we're all about here, right?
Yes.
I
It's
know.
reframing and getting to
Yes.
know God in a whole new light. That's
Right.
all love. And
Yeah.
I just love that.
That's really beautiful. And I think so when I was listening, I like scooped up anything I could find about you, like any podcast you were on, reading your books and all of that. And what you just said was totally my experience. The second it was like my heart was like, "Oh, I'm intrigued by angels." It was overwhelming in the best way how they went out of their way to communicate with me. And it was so
Right.
powerful and so tangible that it was almost like, well, of course. And I remember to this day, this meditation that I did, either it was your meditation or you specifically like said, do this meditation if you want to connect with your guardian angel. Because this was like 5 or 6 years ago. And who came forth was I could like, if I could draw, I could draw him out. It was so vivid.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me his name was Thomas. And I was
Whoa.
like, Thomas, that's crazy. And you okay, this is what I want to ask you, like personally. he's like very good looking. Is that normal for
Are they
Angels
all hot?
can be, yeah. They're you.
Because
I
I
mean,
was
like,
like, Jesus, is this like some weird little fantasy or is this like really Thomas?
did you look up the name Thomas, by the way, like what it means? Because often that helps you understand an angel's gift.
Usually
Oh, it
it
means twin in Aramaic. That's so
You're a
cool.
Gemini.
No, and I'm
Right.
like the most Gemini of Gemini.
There
For
you
real?
go. Yeah, there we go. That's cool. So it's like matching your energy. Sweet.
Yes.
Um,
So it's what you're just describing is like, and that's why I think I connected so deeply with your work is because not only do you give people permission, people who
Mm.
are Christian or have Christian backgrounds, because that is absolutely the foundation of your original faith, right? So it kind of
right.
opens the door to maybe some of these alternative spiritual practices that aren't so scary. Angels are in the Bible. We see how God
Mm-hmm.
leverages angels, with the birth of Jesus, all of this good stuff. But so you show us the way in which we can be open to it, but then you give us like really practical ways to
Right.
experience this for ourselves. And like, man, it has been like life changing.
Oh, I love that. And I think
And
it's
it
really
has.
it's important because like the angels have a purpose and their purpose is to bring us to God. That's their whole entire thing. It's not to take us away from it. It's actually to embody love and to share with us the love that we are so that we can become, the most aligned, most loving, most centered version of ourselves that we can be. And that's their main purpose. Like anytime I've ever had the feeling an angel is close, the warmth that comes over me, the unconditional love, the sense
Mm.
of security is amazing. And I think a lot of people out there like who maybe do have a kind of Christian background will be like, oh, that's idolatry because it's not. You're not worshiping the angel, you're working with the angel. They're actually our siblings, essentially. We have the same father, like we're all coming from that same
Oh, that's
source.
beautiful.
Yes.
And they were made to support the earth and essentially creating heaven on earth.
I think that's what I love so much about your message is this idea that essentially we have a whole community, a whole like host of angels around us all the time to help us, to guide us, to support us, to love us. And
Hmm.
that's what I just loved is I felt so loved and supported. I'm not just doing this alone, even though I've always had my connection, to God, Jesus, whatever. Something about having someone personally assigned to me and having kind of like a best friend and a support system built into the design of this is just beautiful and so
Yeah,
comforting to me.
it's amazing. It feels good to know that you've got your own like cheerleader,
Your
essentially.
peeps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you had like a bench of BFFs that are like in the corner waiting in the wings, no pun intended, to help us, right? I mean,
Right.
so your guardian angel. Can you
Mhm.
tell us about guardian angels? Are those potentially like past loved ones or is that an
Mm.
archangel?
I
Could
think
they
it's
be
different.
both?
It
Yeah,
could be
tell
both.
us.
I'll tell you, I feel that angels are pre-human. So I think they were the original messengers. And the way I see an angel
Oh.
in my idea is if God was to be a gigantic big heart, every time the heart of God was to beat, the beat would be an angel. Therefore, when you're in touch with an angel, you're in direct communion with the heart of God. There is no separation at all. So when you say angel, obviously the word angel means messenger of God, the El in every angel's name, Elohim, which means the divine God source. When you call on an angel, you call on the same presence it came from, the heart. And I feel that that energy is beyond human. It's before the humans. And I believe that the way we are assigned our angel is before we came into incarnation, we existed in that same space too. And there was a recognition between their soul and ours, and they committed to being with us that when we were essentially embodied or came to the earth, they stayed with us. So anyone who ever feels called to an angel or wants to connect with them, I say it's often because you can remember them from before you were in this body. You were there
Wow.
together. You were in the heavens together. So, however, all the professionals and speakers and teachers about angels who kind of walked the earth before me often taught that humans can't become angels. However, throughout the kind of spiritual texts that exist out there, there are many cases that people become angels or angels become people. And so I was always intrigued by that. And it all changed for me this one time when I was meeting a woman in my office in Glasgow. And as soon as she walked in, I felt her angels around her very strongly. And I could see this angel. And I closed my eyes and I said, "Is there anything you want me to tell her?" And I heard the message, "I am her daughter." And I said, "Your angel is your daughter." And I then said, "That doesn't make sense to everything I know." I went, "Did you lose a baby? Did you lose a daughter?" And she said, "Yes." And then I just kept going, "My angel, my angel, my angel." And the woman then opens her phone and she shows me the screen and she has her daughter's headstone and the words, "My angel," is on the front. And I mean, it gives me goosebumps to like think about it.
Same. That's
No.
unbelievable.
And then I realized that the difference between an angel and a human is an ego. And children, babies, they don't have one. So they are angels. So when the
Oh,
soul doesn't make it, they become an angel.
Oh.
Kyle,
I
that
know,
is
it's
so
unbelievable.
beautiful.
Yeah. So I believe that angels of lost loved ones, the souls of lost loved ones can become angels to us, particularly if they were egoless, like children, babies, that don't get to
Yeah.
be here with us as long as we'd love them to be. I believe that they can become protectors to their family on earth.
That is beautiful.
So
It's
beautiful.
So
amazing.
how do you view reincarnation? Because that's a topic that we kick around here a lot.
I saw that. Yeah, I feel like the soul is recycled. It's got to be. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we can come back. I think so. I
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
feel like there's a part of us that stays in heaven. So I saw your thing about being a mom and like not wanting to leave your children and
Yeah.
husband and all that. Because we
Yeah.
think like humans, don't we?
I know. I'm
Yes.
But
like, you're with me forever.
the
Come to
soul is
mommy.
so expansive. The
I
soul is so
know.
Yes.
So
expansive. We
true.
can't even begin to fathom like the levels that it's existing on. So I like to
Yeah.
think that maybe in a previous lifetime I was maybe someone else's ancestors that they're praying to. And that part of my
Whoa.
soul is still helping them, even though I'm in my next incarnation.
I know. But
I
it's
I mean,
love
true,
it.
right?
I could be
Because
wrong, but
yeah, but I mean the potential of that though does feel expansive and correct,
Yeah.
right?
especially
Like
if you like study the quantum field and all that stuff,
I was
and
just
I'm
going to
like
say
timelines.
Yeah.
precisely. And if you think about how tangible, like you can feel love. You feel
Mm-hmm.
the presence of an angel. You feel love from your loved one. Like you could feel it. And that to me is just energy. And energy can't be created or destroyed. So like all time, all space, it exists. And you like how you cannot separate yourself from God's love, just like you can't separate yourself from your child's love. I don't know.
Hmm.
I just feel like it's just logical, even though I know it's very
Love is
mystical.
undeniable, and I think the real way to or to teach someone or to open the conversation about love is most people know when there's an absence of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we can take for granted the presence of love when it's all around us, but we also know what it's like to be in complete desolation and not feel love.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true. Right. Because like you feel that absence more than you recognize
Right.
that you're just constantly surrounded by love.
Yeah.
Question on signs. So angel
Love signs.
numbers, yes, signs are just incredible. Want your perspective on how angels use signs to communicate with us, and perhaps, like I know numerology, angel numbers. I mean, I that could be perhaps how we first got introduced to your work long ago.
Mm.
Whether it's like angel numbers drive our attention to angels, or angels are using those numbers to connect with us. Maybe how I don't
Yeah.
know how they use
Here
signs to
here's
communicate.
Yeah.
I think it's important to say that when we just look at the word angel, it means messenger. So their whole entire shtick is to be in communication. And I think most people are not prepared for full body apparitions. Like, that's the truth. Like, not everyone's ready to see a full body angel in every given moment. And they understand that. And especially because the way media portrays things, like
And the
the idea of,
Bible.
Oh,
and the,
God.
Rachel's always are like, fear not.
oh
Well,
yeah,
I
I
used to pray
know.
every night not to see an angel because I heard
I
that
know.
story in
What is
school,
that?
and I was like,
Well,
I
because
don't
of
want
their
to see you.
like on fire, or like ferocious or whatever, the burning
I don't
ones.
know. I don't know.
It just
But
seems scary.
clearly.
I'm like, to turn around and just all of a sudden see, a
Oh,
gleaming light in my
can
room
I just
terrified
jump to
me.
that for a second? Do you know,
Yeah.
when Archangel Gabriel appeared to Mary, the mother of Christ, and said, "Do not be afraid." I think the reason Gabriel said that to her wasn't because seeing an angel was scary. It was because she was a woman standing in her own power.
Shut up. Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
You can tell I hang around with Megan Watterson.
I was
I
going
was
to
just
say,
gonna
I'm
say, wait,
getting
can we
Megan
follow that
Watterson
thread?
vibes, and I love it.
All right, wait,
That-
we'll get back
okay.
to the signs.
Get back to that. Anyway. No,
Yeah.
sorry.
No.
I want to talk about Mary too. We'll
Yeah,
get there next.
let's follow. Can we follow that thread a little bit? Like,
Yeah, I think so many, like, especially in those times, like, anyone who is in a position of power was a man, was a Pharisee, was a rabbi, was a teacher of some, and women were treated less than your youngest child. They were not seen as an equal. And so the idea that this woman was receiving direct connection and spiritual authority in her own right, and she wasn't even a woman, she was probably 14 or 15 years old.
Yeah.
So the fact that she had that direct encounter, I think the angel was saying, do not be afraid of being this powerful, of saying yes to this mission, this calling.
full body
That just
goosebumps.
reframes
So
everything.
when anyone is frightened of seeing an angel, I often say to them, it's not because it's an angel that you're scared of. You're scared of the power that comes along with it, because it brings responsibility. You no longer need your spiritual teacher or your pastor or your leader or your priest. You are in direct connection with the divine.
This makes so much sense now.
It makes so much sense.
That's what we're scared of, because the world's telling us that we're not supposed to be powerful, that we're supposed to be followers instead of leaders.
100%.
And especially women.
Especially women.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about Mother Mary on this topic? We'll get back to the signs, but like,
We'll always circle back.
can you tell a Gemini and a Sag in the room? We're just like, pew, 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 pew.
Well, yeah, I think Mary has a really big, important part of my life. I feel a direct encounter. And I've always had a love of Mary. And the first memory I have was around the time of my grandmother passing away. My neighbor Margaret used to take me to Saturday night mass with her. She was a Catholic. Her son became a priest. We're actually going to meet up soon, which is cool. But she took me to mass with her. And the first time I ever saw Mary, I walked into the room where they light all the candles at her feet. And I remember looking up and being like, who is that? And in pure Scots, she goes, that's Jesus's mommy, telling me that was the mother of Jesus. And I remember her saying, we're going to light a candle and say a prayer for your Nana. And ever since then, I've just had this like complete and utter like connection to her.
Wow.
Like just a deep love. And it always stayed there. And I always had images of her all around my home. But it was after my mum passed away in 24 November, I woke up through the night and I had this dream, and Mary stood in front of me and she said, I'll be your mother now. And I just was like, whoa. And then I woke up and I was like, wait a minute, this is biblical. This is biblical. Because when in the book of John, when Jesus is on the cross, he says to his disciple, behold your mother.
Yes.
And I realized that the disciple wasn't one person, but all of us. Anyone who believes in Jesus, he gave his mother to us. And so I just leaned so into that, just as a kind of spiritual sanctuary, and it just started to help me heal everything that I felt wounded by with losing my mother, you know? Like, she was the one person I spoke to and saw every single day unless I was
Yeah.
on tour. And in many cases, she
Yeah.
came with me, you know, and I my parents divorced and I lived in the same house with my mom until I was 27 years old, you know? So, um, yeah, so but it wasn't to replace my mom. It was more just to give me, um, to let me let go of my mum so I could become my own person, but still feel that there was a protective mother figure there for me.
That makes
Absolutely.
me want to cry.
I
I
know me.
know.
I'm surprised I've not so far.
I
Well,
mean,
we
that's
still
just,
have time.
I feel
Well,
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our goal is to
exactly.
make
I
Kyle
go
cry.
red. That's usually what I do. Mm.
So, can you help describe for our audience, because like some people are super mystical and have shared experiences with us of angels and whatnot, but for people that maybe haven't, how would you best describe your connection to, say, Mary or a different angel? Is it purely like a feeling, an energetic?
I've had
Oh,
the
that's
whole
a good.
host. I've woken up through the night and seen presences like full body in front of me and speaking directly at me. And then I've also had my main gift is dreams and like
Wow.
either awake dreams or just seeing things happen in my mind. And that's usually how I see it. But sometimes I'll hear a little thing or you know it's important to say. I always say to people, if anyone tries to tell you that you have this or that, don't. Just like be open to it all, because I think they'll find a way. If someone wants to get in touch with you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, then they will do it. They will absolutely do it, and they'll find a way that is respectful and in honor of you. So that's where science comes back into the conversation. I think
Yes. Good
i
segue.
i just want to like
Yeah.
say that when I was researching for my last book, we really wanted to like, because I did all the TV thing over here in the UK, and I wanted to like share with people like how normal this is. So, in the US, for example, it's two in every third person believe in angels, and out of every people, every 10 that believes, one person will report that they've seen an angel, encountered an angel, had a sign from an angel. So the numbers are huge. We're
Yes.
Yeah.
talking millions of people.
Yes.
So I think it's around 6 million in the UK reporting that they've had some sort of direct mystical experience. So that's pretty cool. And signs is one of the biggest way of doing it. And so like finding a feather or seeing like 111 on the clock, or over here, people love robin redbreasts. Over there, it might be a cardinal or a bird of
Yeah.
prey
Mm-hmm.
or like a certain butterfly. People see signs. The most important thing I'll say to people is when it comes to signs, everybody wants to know what that specific sign means. But for me, it's you're getting a sign. It doesn't matter what it is. You are receiving direct communication from heaven.
Yes.
It's amazing.
And it's not what the sign is, it's how you feel when you see it. So if you go, oh, that's a sign, and then your logical mind wants to step in like a couple of minutes later. But if your initial thought is as soon as you see something that is a sign, then
It
that is a
is.
sign. Like it's
Absolutely.
undeniable.
Yeah.
And
That
they'll
that
use
yes.
everything like bumper stickers, church signs, like um, advertisements, music on the radio, animals, wildlife, anything, smells. If you get the feeling that it's a sign, it's a sign.
Yeah. And I agree. You'll
Right.
know it. You'll know
You
it. And
Mhm.
know.
sometimes I actually think it's funny. Like it's almost like hysterical sometimes where you're like, "Pff, of course, it's a
Right.
random bumper sticker or a song in a grocery store when I'm not expecting it. But
Mhm.
Right. It
so
just
it's
hits
almost
you.
fun. Yeah.
Yes, yes. It is fun because you realize that there's so much more than this dense planet that we're on. I got to
Right.
tell you a cool story. You're talking about different signs. I mentioned
Sure.
this previously when we were talking about angel numbers and we were going through your different definitions. So after my son was diagnosed, I mean, there was a period in the hospital where we thought we were going to lose him and he was rushed to surgery and he ended up going to the ICU after that. And I remember I just closed my eyes and I just remembered that, like, all I could do was love him. And it was God's love through me that could help heal him. So I was just kind of focusing on that. And I had this vision of hundreds of angels just crammed into his surgery room. I wasn't in the surgery room, but this like vision came to me when I was in the waiting room, just crammed shoulder to shoulder. And his guardian angel or an angel came forward and was like, "We got him. Like, you're good." And it was like so tangible. I can't even really describe it. It wasn't like I didn't see it like a vision, but it was in my mind's eye, I guess is the best way that I can describe it. And
Mm.
fast forward a few months after that experience, he was in really heavy chemo and we had a really tough appointment. And I remember we were in a different place than Children's Hospital. We're in the clinic, the chemo clinic. And I had this thought and I just said, "Gosh, angels, like, I miss you. I'm really glad we're out of the hospital, but where I used to feel your presence so tangibly, I don't anymore. But at the
Mhm.
hospital, I felt them everywhere." And I remember just saying, like, "Ah, I miss you." I kid you not. 2 seconds later, this scribe who I've never met comes in, rolls in her little cart. She pushes her sleeve up, and I see a giant 444 on her arm.
Whoa.
And I went to your Instagram and I scrolled through until I found 444. And I believe the definition at the time was like, "You're surrounded by angels." And I
It
just was
is.
like,
There you
that
go.
it brought me to tears. But what happened in that moment was not just like this tangible little butterfly in your stomach feeling of connection, but like I am so loved.
Mhm.
And even if I can't necessarily feel them or see them, or they're always here and they're here when I need them. And it's like
Right.
that sign is just like, it'll stay with me forever.
I love that. So the sign had a purpose and it was to bring you closer. So when we go out about our usually when we have our miracles and our prayers are answered or we're back to normal, like we can kind of get out of sync and we're not tuning in as
Yes.
much. So when it goes quiet or there's a sense of radio silence, it's the divine asking you to lean in. It's saying, "Hey, I need you to lean in." And then when you lean in, the sign will come and confirm that you're connected. So that's their whole point. That's their whole point is that you're on the right
Wow.
path. You're in the right
Yes.
place. I've heard you. It's like, Roger that, they're letting
They
you know
respond.
they
Yeah.
respond. And so a lot of people get annoyed, like, "Oh, I'm not seeing them all the time anymore." Initially, we get lots of consolation, like we're constantly being told that we're surrounded. Then it'll pull away so that we can lean into it, but it'll not stay present all the time because they want us also to trust in our own soul and our own plan and our own intention. But once we lean back in, they'll give us the confirmation that they're there, and then we can like ride with them, like that's them with us.
I love
Yeah.
That
It's
is
simple.
beautiful.
I
that.
think
Yeah.
we can like spend a lot of time like, "Oh, you need to tune in and do it." No, I'm like, "Roger that. Got it. Thank you so much. It feels so good to know you're here. Let's roll," and that's it. The other thing I'll say to you about your experience, I think is really important is the warmth that comes over you, or that even though you're in that kind of life or death situation, if an air of calm comes over you and it
Yes.
doesn't make human sense because you're trying to
Yes.
protect the person you love the most on earth,
Yep.
and you get an air of calm, that means the angels are present. That means God is with you because, if that comes in, that is a kind of supernatural calm because the human mind could not make that happen. Your nervous system's
Mhm.
tweaking out. You're like, how am I
Uh,
going to deal with this?
Yeah.
100%. Right.
And
Right.
that's
Like,
also a sign in itself, that sense of calm.
or like deep stillness inside that
Yeah.
really cannot be explained from your own
Mhm.
human experience. Because you're right. Like, I'm a human mom having a human experience on this planet. And I can trust and believe and have all the faith in the world. But it is supernatural peace that comes over us in those moments that I think like you're pointing out, which is so spot on because it
Right.
was weird. It was like, they're having conversations like, we'll do everything we can type conversations.
Yeah.
And then to feel this like, no, we have him. He is protected. And then to believe that because it was such a tangible feeling that came over me. It's like you're experiencing this peace in a way that just feels so real. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
I
It's a
think it's
gift.
those doorways are choices. and you're leaning in at that point and trusting it is also a big part of the energy that also helps save, that helps
Yes.
heal, you know,
Oh my
and we
gosh.
get them in our own lives. Like, oh, you can go this way or go that way. And it feels like a big risk. And then when you do it, it's like, oh, it opens up the next door and it takes us down the next road.
That's
So I
Yeah.
think a lot of people can who have had similar situations will say, like, something came over me and I don't know what it was, but that restored their faith, and that faith also helped heal them.
yes. I mean, you couldn't have said that better.
Yeah.
So, like, how will you said something earlier, which I think was really important. You
Mm.
probably anticipated a lot of the questions from our audience of like, how do we leverage angels, make sure that we're not replacing Jesus or God? Is there like a time and a place where you would say, I mean, I'm assuming that we can go to our angels at all times, but like, do you kind of categorize it in your brain like, okay, for protection, I might go to this angel, or for healing, I may go to Jesus, or for comfort, I may go to Mary? Or is it just like totally dependent on the individual and that how they feel called?
Yeah, it can be absolutely anything. The cool thing I'll say to you is that angels, they're working for the higher power, right? So for me, that's Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So I feel like that's connected. So when I speak to an angel, I'm in that connection with that Trinitarian idea. But for other
Yes.
people, it might be a little bit different. But for me, the angel is your personal intercessor. They're getting their power, their light, their answers from the higher power. Like, that's the way I see it. Um, for me, I tend to always go to my angels for everything. And for the one thing I go to Jesus for is mercy. I'm just like, I just want to feel
Beautiful.
mercy, because that's the
Hmm.
energy that Christ brings for me. It's just like sheer mercy and like complete forgiveness. So yeah, that's what I do. But I pray to them all. I pray to them all. I pray to my loved ones. But anytime I'm spooked out by something, I'm always like, Archangel Michael and Jesus, let's go. They're my Ghostbusters.
Your protection.
They're my
um,
Ghostbusters.
So let me ask you this. What do you see that spooked you? Like when you say
yeah.
that, do you have any examples of things that have shook you a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I've been to places. Have you never, like, just stayed in a hotel and you're like, "This place is
Oh, yeah. Oh,
haunted,"
definitely.
or
Yes.
oh, yeah, Jesus, I'm like, whenever the light of Christ is in the room, like, no darkness can exist. Like, that's the way I feel it. Years ago, I was, in my office in Glasgow at the time, and this woman came to see me, and she had married into this family who were doing some like dodgy, dark stuff. Like I don't know what they were doing. They believed in like superstitious, witchy, like, but like intentional harm on other people
Dark
stuff,
Mhm.
energy.
Eh,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
And they she was worried, and her daughter kept saying the devil's name in Arabic and like screaming it.
Oh,
And when she came in the room, and I was like, I'm picking up something really like feels really unfriendly, really dark. Like, I'm kind of concerned about it. And she said, and I said, is someone's obsessed with the devil? And she said, my daughter. And I was like, how old is your daughter? And she was like 7 years old. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I said, I'm going to call in the light of Christ. And as soon as I did it, all the candles blew out in the room. It was so
shut up.
insane. I was like, whoa. It was just like, there was this dark energy all around. And it was just
Whoa.
so like in cases like that, I always call on Christ. Always, always,
Yes.
always.
Yes.
And like, just like as soon as you do that, there's something else that changes in the room.
Yeah.
So what do
I
you yeah, I was gonna say, like, what do you think this dark are they like the inverse of angels? Is it dark energy and just bad
So
intent?
I'm
What
still
would you
like trying to figure that out. Like over the years, so I've been doing angel stuff for like 22 years, and I have probably maybe in like five, two hands maybe can count the times I've encountered dark forces. For me, dark forces are often residual energy of a dark situation or a dark past. So like something bad
Mm.
happened in a house, created
Mm.
a really intense energy there. Other people feel that energy, are fearful of that energy, and then give it more power. And then before you know it, it's grown arms and legs. And so that for me, a demon is just like a low vibrational energy, a fear-based memory, or a fearful event that many people have poured their power into, and now it's become its own thing.
Oh my gosh, this reminds me.
Interesting.
So we just had Sean Collins on. Do you know who Sean is?
Yes,
He's a
yes,
yes.
I endorsed his new book.
Oh,
Oh,
He's a great
was
wow.
medium.
amazing, and
He's a
he
Yeah.
great
was
medium.
talking about this idea of how when we move on to the afterlife, that there's pieces of our energy that just can't come along with
Residual
us, so they
energy.
get
Yeah.
left here, so that makes
Locked
total
up. So
sense.
especially like, if there was like a really like negative man that can cause a lot of like pain and infliction on people, then that'll be left behind in his space if he stayed there for like 70 years, you know? So
Yeah.
that's what it feels like.
Interesting.
I
But we interpret it
yeah.
like, oh my God, it's a big scary man, you know,
Yeah.
but he was when he was alive, but it's not his soul. It's probably in soul hospital, you know?
But that's what was so eye-opening to me is, like, he was saying there's nothing to be afraid of, essentially, that it's just energy kind of, like, lingering around is how I took it. Is that how you understood it, Jace?
Yeah,
Like,
but
it's just
like,
Yeah.
kind of here?
have you ever been in a bar and someone comes in, they've had too much to drink and they're trying to fight with everyone? Like,
Yeah.
you can't help but be a bit of afraid of them because
Yes.
you're like, you're a liability.
Yeah.
So that's what that energy feels like. It's like a liability. It's going to inflict your peace, your mental
Oh my
wellness,
gosh.
and
I'm
that's why
having
we're kind of scared of
such a
it.
big flashback right now. So I was on, not to go off on a tangent, I was in Savannah, Georgia, and I purposely chose like a very modern condo to stay in because I knew myself and I knew I'd freak myself out if I was in some antique bed, in this
Right?
old city.
No,
And I
it's a no
could
from
not
me.
I could not shake it. I would go to bed and I like would close my eyes and it felt so scary. Like I did not want to open my eyes because I felt like if I did, I was going to see something that would freak me out. And no lie, we left. And I found out the day we were leaving, the place where the condo was built was right over where they used to do the slave trade,
There it
buy and
is.
sell. And I
There
was
it
like,
is.
there it is.
All
So
the
much
Yeah.
pain,
pain, so
all the
much trauma.
pain,
Yes.
all the pain.
I mean, it was so tangible. I've never had that experience where it was so heavy and so intense. So I get that. I get
Yeah.
that.
But
Wow.
I am I'm not sure there's fallen angels as such, but I think there was a message in all of that content just to say that it was kind of it was more like an allegorical thing, you know, like even the purest of souls can be tainted, and it's to remind us to stay morally aligned. I think that's the real true message of that. I just
Yeah.
think it's probably painful experiences that people are scared of. And that's the difference between a ghost and a spirit. A ghost is the leftover energy. A spirit is a soul on the move.
Okay, that's a
I
really
like
good
that
way to
distinction.
distinguish because I was gonna, yeah, that's a really good way to say it because I don't know. I think a lot of the religion and dogma is very fear based, and it doesn't make sense to me that like whatever is created, God allowed, and it's part of His creation, right? So it
Hmm.
kind of felt a little off to me that He would create like the inverse of angels. You know what I don't know. I guess
I
like
know. And a
you know,
lot of that comes from Genesis, and like Adam and Eve wasn't probably real people. It was more like a story to teach us a lesson. So
right.
Mhm.
Right. Precisely. I know. We're trying to like shake loose the you don't need to make your Bible your idol, right? Like you don't have to worship your Bible and every word and take it super literally, which ironically like really activates certain people. But I think when you do look at it through that lens of like what is this trying to teach me versus like how closely can I follow this parable? Like
right.
it's a different experience. Um what was your coolest experience with angels? Or I mean, you shared a couple with your grandmother, but maybe reading for people or did they come through in a unique way?
I think the one thing that kind of put me on the map will be the coolest experience. I had when I was 20, I became a columnist for the Scottish Sun, which is like our daily newspaper here. And I um, started seeing people privately for one-on-one sessions. And this woman came to see me. And during her session, I said, "Your angels are here. And they're telling me that your mother is in heaven with them and that she wants to acknowledge you and your two sisters." And she's like, "I've only got one sister." And I was like, "I keep feeling like you've got two sisters." And so then she said, "Can you tell me a little bit more?" And so I started to tell, and she said, "It's really weird. My sister lives in Canada and she went to see some reader and they told her that she has two sisters." So I don't know how I did this. It's so spooky. But I basically wrote down everything that I felt, and I wrote down this name and I wrote down all this stuff. And I ended up writing Coney Island, New York. So I wrote down this woman's name, and it turns out that was the sister who delivered a baby for her mother. And she was told that the baby was dead on arrival. And at those times, you never saw the baby if they had, you know,
Yeah.
crossed during birth. But it turns out the baby didn't die, and they were stolen and sold on the black market to a family in Coney Island, New York.
No.
And I wrote down all the names of everything that happened and that I picked up, and it turns out that they were able to trace down her sister and they were all reunited, which was the most
Kyle,
insane
That's
thing.
insane.
I know it was on the newspaper. It was like it was in the newspaper and all that. It was like, gosh, I was in my 20s now. I'm nearly 40. So, but yeah, that was probably the coolest thing that happened. I was like,
That's
How
unbelievable.
did that even, because I'm not like, "Oh, you have a sister and she lives here." I just wrote all these random facts down
Right.
and then we
Yeah.
started
Not
digging.
knowing what they,
Yeah.
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 Oh
And it
my
was weird. I
gosh.
wrote the woman's name down that sold the babies on the black market, and there was a big investigation on her and crazy.
Wow. Was she still alive? The woman? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
That's crazy. But like, okay, so this is a really good example where Rachel and
Mhm.
I try to say, like, what is the fruit of this action, right? Like, when you're trying to
Such a
decipher,
Christian word.
I know. Well, it is. It is. It is the
I
fruit
love
of the
it.
spirit, right? But it's
Yes.
true. It's like a
Mhm.
good litmus test, right? Like we would argue that's the Holy Spirit at work through angels, however,
Amen.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, right? However you're getting your information, it is for like what we're trying to do is like dismantle some of the fear. If you are people can Rachel says all the time, like you can pray to something positive or you can pray for something negative. It's not prayer that's evil, right? It's like how you use it. But I mean,
Mhm.
that's a perfect way of how your gifts were able to bring healing and
Mm-hmm.
clarity and bring the truth to light where otherwise it wouldn't have, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're using your powers for good, Kyle. That's what I'm saying.
Like a
You know, it's not.
superhero.
You're a
Yeah, but
superhero.
eventually I got to the point in my journey where I did all the reading stuff and I realized that that's not the best use of me. The best use of me is to help other people get connected. Like, I don't want you to
Yes.
need me. I want you to go direct, you
Yeah.
know? That's the whole
Yeah.
point. So that's why
Oh,
I
yeah.
stopped
Let's
doing
talk about that.
readings.
Let's talk
Yeah, well,
about that.
everyone has the divine right to know God personally. Everyone oh, did you flash something there? I'm
No, I
looking
did.
She's
at.
like
I'm in
holding out
I was
dreaming
like,
all her
mode.
let's
books
talk
that
about
she.
that.
Oh, you're so sweet.
And I can't find your angel cards. I think are on our kitchen table because we use them every
Guys,
day.
I just have to say this. We got angel hoodie like hoodies in today, so we have to send you some because we have like angel merch, and on the back they say God has handled the details, which is one of my favorite.
Love
Oh my
that.
gosh.
I need to
Stop. That is
send you
so
them.
cool. We will rep
Oh,
those
we
hard.
will. We'll rock
For
them.
sure.
But yeah, I feel like that's the main purpose for me. Originally, I went in on the kind of psychic level, and eventually, I was like, "That's not the best use of me. My job is to help you get connected." And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I really believe that the divine wants to know us personally. It wants to have a direct connection, and this doesn't have to be just when we're in church or when we're praying. It can be in every given moment of our life that we're reminded we're part of something greater and that we can contribute to a greater earth. Like that really feels important, you know?
Yes.
This is the
Yes.
time when we need to be better neighbors. Like that's really like what we're being invited to do right
Absolutely.
now. And so when
100%.
we have a constant connection to a source of love, it becomes easier to share love with other people. When we're experiencing abundance, it gives us the opportunity to be more charitable. Like that's
Yeah.
the truth. Like that's what the divine wants, is for us to be in connection with it or him and bring more people back to it. But right
Yeah.
now we're kind of being taught to like polarize. Like you're either this or you're that. You can't be a little bit of both, you know? Whereas I was in a priest's house just a few days ago and he's like, can you tune in and ask God and the angels this for me? You know, like we're part of a changing time, you know, like people
Yeah.
can go direct.
Yes.
That's what I love so much about your work, and one thing that I found from just reading and working through the cards myself is, like, giving me permission, giving me the authority to do that, to talk, to
Hmm.
help each one of us realize that we have a direct connection to the divine and we can use it all the time. I just think it's such a beautiful thing that you're
I
so
think
good
so.
at. Yeah.
Yeah. And just normalizing conversations are about being spiritual, you know?
Yeah.
Like to think I was looking at it the first time I went on national television to speak about angels in a big way was in 2012 and like you know there was probably 10 million viewers that day and then I was like on the couch beside someone who was like the bad cop and beside someone else who was the good cop. Whereas this last year when I went on same show, you know, 14 years down the line, and then it was completely different. They were like completely open to the conversation, and everyone's telling me their experiences. So we're really in the shift of times. More and more people are willing
Yeah.
to believe, and I think more people need to believe.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think too, angels really, at least in my personal experience, seem to show up more readily in really difficult times. We're certainly in really difficult times. And I love what
Hmm.
you're saying about how, like, they're not only here to protect us, but remind us, right, of our own spirituality, our own connection to the divine. And ultimately, like, that is why some of these things have become so feared, is because we've been told that we cannot have our own connection. You must go through this hierarchy that the patriarchy has set up, right? Like, you have to go through this person to get that person and to ask that priest to
Hmm.
go bring your prayer forward. But truly, that's not it, right? Like, we are
Mhm.
all directly connected, and our angels are to remind us of that in a very real way. And I think too, like, just believing, I feel like belief, I'm thinking a lot about this, like how every story in the Bible, your belief has made you whole. You know, Jesus felt power leave his body when the woman who believed just touched the back of his cloth, right? I feel like our own belief and our ability to connect is when the floodgates open. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
you just a tiny bit of faith or belief in something higher is here to help you and to create more love in this world. Let me show you, right? I don't know.
Right.
I feel like now more than ever, like, yes, people are becoming more sovereign. They're believing in their own, like, I don't have to do things because you just told me to. And it's opening ways of alternative forms of spiritual practice. But sometimes I feel like it's just that, like, cracking the door open a little bit is what
Hmm.
allows angels to do their work, you know?
Right. And it's going
Mhm.
back to that Mary situation of do not be afraid, you know, do not be afraid of being this powerful. But it's also about do not be afraid of being this worthy, you know, because I feel like it's easier to place our prayers in the hands of someone who's been clothed, you know, like, and to, oh yeah, maybe their prayers will get through. But my prayers are not any louder than yours, and yours aren't any
Yeah.
louder than me. We're received as equals when it goes to
Yes.
God. And so I think tuning back into our worthiness, and that's what angels do. They when we and it goes back to what you said, they were so beautiful. And you might think, oh yeah, he's hot and he's good. But the angel's goal is actually to reflect your beauty back to you. You know,
Oh.
that's their goal. They're like
Oh, it's
actual
beautiful.
mirrors, mirroring back to us the light that we have within us so that we can reclaim it as our own.
Oh my god, am I a really hot, blonde, 7-foot
Yes,
guy
girl.
inside?
Yes. He's reflecting it back to you.
He's just
Accept it.
reflecting your beauty, your
Oh my god,
beauty.
I love that. No, that's so funny. I was just like, "Damn," like, I wasn't expecting that.
It isn't
I know. My
inappropriate to have
angel's like a
inappropriate thoughts
7-foot
about
black
my
man,
angel.
so he is. So when I saw my angel, he looked like Obama the first time I saw him. I
I
was like,
Oh.
just read about that in your book.
yeah. And
Jason
loads of
gave me one of your
people
books.
Like, I got so much hard times on the internet for telling that story. I'm like, it's not a
Why?
political stance. I'm just telling you that's what he looks
Oh.
like.
Yeah.
Oh, stop. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
So I have an Obama tattoo in my bicep, hilariously.
Oh, do you? Should I
I
get
do.
My
Thomas
God.
put somewhere?
You guys, yeah.
Just my husband's gonna be like,
On your
"Who the
a
fuck is
neck
Thomas?"
tattoo.
Who's
Next
this
time
in
we
bed with us
interview.
on your arm?
That is so funny. Yeah, Rachel had a name of somebody that came forward recently, but like to your point, you're like, let's look up this
Yeah,
name.
it was a saint, so it wasn't an from what I can gather. I had
You got a
Aaron
saint?
and then and there was a Saint Aaron, so I don't know if that was it, but anyway.
Wow. Did you look
I
it up
know.
as an Aaron?
Yeah. And then I'm like, "What's with the '80s names?" Because then just today I got Brandon. I was like,
Oh, it means
"Brandon?"
exalted, strong, or mountain of strength in Hebrew.
Hey.
See what I mean? Like, so your angel's bringing you strength. That's what it's all about.
Oh,
Where did you
I
go?
love that.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah, that's so. We when you get an angel's name, you should look up the meaning behind the name because that's what they're
Okay.
bringing to you. So, like Michael means he who is like God. Gabriel, the strength of God. You know, like that's how we learn what that angel's essence represents.
So do we have different angels who kinda come in and out at different times to help with whatever we're currently working through?
Yes, think of them as service people. Like, oh, the angel that can help you bring
Okay.
strength is going to show up at this time. You know, the angel that can match your vibe, twin, is going to show up at this time. That's what the angels do. They come and they go because they're messengers. They're always at work.
Oh, so cool. But your
And I'll tell you
guardian
this,
angel is with you all the
your
time.
guardian
That's
angel's
your
forever. And
wing person.
my way of connecting to the guardian is just saying, my angel. Based on that experience with that lady that day, I just go, my angel. I call on my angel.
Mm.
And that's how I get them close.
Oh my god. So do you have to call them in? Like, do they need to feel like
They
there's
need
some type of
permission.
permission?
Yeah,
Okay.
right, because they don't wanna, like, infiltrate your space. They're in complete honor of you. So they're just
Oh,
like
I'm like, come on in all day, every
Yeah.
day. I want just come hang out with me.
yes, exactly. I'm like, "Thank you, angels, for reminding me of your presence. It feels so good to know you're here."
Yes. Will you talk our listeners through some of your resources? Like, I'll just share angel prayers
Yeah,
came around with me for a year. It was in my work bag, and I would be on flights and I would open it up. And I loved it because you did such a beautiful job of helping us understand the angel world, right? Like, if you think
right.
about this unseen world of different types of angels, and then you really give amazing examples of like meaning, like who to call in for certain things, prayers for each of those. Like, this one is really powerful. I'll just go through mine and then I'd love your perspective too. Raise your
Mhm.
vibration was awesome also because like
Thank you.
I'm learning more about how our energetic field and frequency is what can connect us beyond, right? And this
Mhm.
is really practical because you give like almost like daily guidance on how you can elevate your vibration or your emotional frequency or state. And that's not just for like your own ability to connect with angels, but I would argue like the whole premise of manifestation and like you reap what you sow and what you put out you bring in. So that's a
Mm.
really good book too that I loved in terms of connecting closer to the spirit world and angels. Like, how else would you literally rattled off
No,
all my
honestly,
favorite things about you?
if
But
you're
like,
interested in learning about me, just go on Spotify, put my name in. I've
yeah,
pre-recorded all these angel prayers that I've just put up there. There's a daily angel prayer, and it's
okay,
free. You can just,
perfect.
or it's on YouTube now, and you just put that in and listen to it, and it'll guide you through a really quick practice. I also made one that's only 2 minutes 34, and it's the guardian angel prayer for children. So you just like go in the car, you're
For
about to get to
kids?
school. Well, it's just for it's a traditional Catholic guardian angel prayer. It's so nice. Only takes you 2 minutes 34 to say it 3 times. So you can just put it on just about to get to school. And then they've called in their angel for protection,
My
just
girls would
super
love
simple.
that.
So
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do
simple.
that tomorrow.
Like,
Just
I love
this
that.
is your gift to people. Like,
Mhm.
you make it so approachable.
that's it.
And yeah, and like it's it literally changed my life. And you said something too about your own spirituality, about how it kind of brought you back. I think we all, especially through deconstruction, people sometimes get really disenchanted with Christianity. And unfortunately,
Right.
they're just like, that was bad. I don't like it. They almost feel like some kind of like religious trauma in a way,
I
and they
know.
abandon it all. And this is a way, if you're feeling like that and you feel like your heart is hardened and you're not ready to come back, this is
Mhm.
such a good way to open the door, feel that love without the dogma and the hierarchy and the rules and the legality. Like, it's just a way to kind of ignite that love
The
Such a
again.
good point,
Yeah, and
Jace.
also, like, I think because I ended up going on and becoming a Catholic. I go to church every Sunday, like, and I do what I do, and people are like, "Oh." I think the big problem is many of us are wanting approval from peers in different spaces that might not always understand each other. But if you can feel comfortable in yourself and you're doing what you feel is right and you're living an honest way, then that's enough. You don't need anyone else to approve of what you're doing. I think that's so important. Like,
That's right.
so many people are like, oh, I really enjoyed your yoga class, but I told my pastor and he's really unhappy about it. And I'm like, well, why did you start a conversation that you knew you were going to get to a
Yeah,
roadblock? And I think we're so conditioned to like want everyone to approve of everything we do. But
Mhm.
spirituality is an individual choice, and we have to
So
exercise our
true.
right to choose.
That's so important to hear. Drop the mic.
but yeah, mic drop, 100%. It's so
It's so true though.
individualistic.
Like
Yes.
Right.
doing this work too. It's funny how I would always have in the back of my mind little voices, right? Of like, oh, what would this person think? What would that person think? What would this?
Mhm.
And it's so important to give people that permission and autonomy to just find a spirituality and a connection and a practice that works for them.
And you can do it all. Like, if it's
Yeah.
all about love, then cool.
I know.
Yeah.
It's about the fruit. God, I'm just kidding. I'm not
It's
gonna say
And I
about
that.
the
hate
fruit.
no,
I actually really don't like that term.
I
I
just
do
no, I
like
just
that term.
Well,
no, I love it for what it is, but I hate the word fruit. Like
no,
it's
same.
what
Oh,
it, you
do
know how
you?
people have I don't know. It just
It's
It
in the Hail
I think it's
Mary
like
as well. Do you know that? When you pray to
fruit.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the
oh,
Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy
Fruit of
womb.
thy
Jesus.
womb.
Yeah.
Like fruit
I
of the
think maybe
loom,
that's
but
why,
fruit of
'cause it
thy
reminds me of
fruit
like
of thy
a
womb.
Fruit of
vagina
thy
or
womb.
something.
Fruit. I just hate the way it sounds. Like
Now I
fruit.
can't stop thinking of pomegranates or something,
Yeah,
like really like abundant and
I know. Exactly. Maybe that's the problem. Oh
yeah,
my
but it
gosh.
is. It's all about the fruit. It's about what it creates.
Yes, what it
Yes.
produces, right?
Hmm.
Like, is it love? Is it connection? Right.
You need to be careful. Like you're
We're
sounding
inappropriate.
fertile in here.
I know. I know. We're all gonna walk away pregnant.
No,
Honestly,
no. That ship
honestly.
has sailed.
I
That
know,
ship.
same. I have 3, and I think 2.5 kids was my magic number. I was like, "I could do more than 2,"
You
and
sound
then I
like
got
me with
3.
dogs. I've got 4.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
That's so good. Oh my god.
Oh, funny.
Um, and this is crazy. It's 1:11 here.
There you
Gosh,
go. It's
this
all
is
Oh
nuts.
my gosh,
happening.
Um,
it is.
It's 7-Eleven here. So that means you need to go to the store for something.
no, we will be sure to link all of your resources. I
Oh
mean,
no, thank you.
this is such a blessing, honestly. Like, thank
I
you, thank
enjoyed it.
you. I told
Thank you.
Rachel, I called her before this, and I was like, this is really a crazy full circle moment. And I think like a way for God to continue to bless us. But when I think about, how you really kind of help open my eyes to spirituality and use so many of your techniques, which I really believe helped heal my son. I'm so thankful.
It was so nice to meet you.
No,
Honestly, I feel like you guys are doing great things. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. That means a ton.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. If you're ready to take your spirituality to the next level, be sure to check out our website, spiritoutspoken.com. There you can download free educational resources, read our latest blog posts, and join the Spirit Outspoken community.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Spirit Outspoken to stay up to date on news, happenings, shenanigans, and all things Spirit Outspoken.